probably the most underrated and most disrespected player in the league right now. The NBA, just like any other major league, is filled with talent. And with that, we have players that are overrated and underrated. However, I don't think there's a more underrated player in any major league than this guy right now. Now, looking at some of the top players according to Basketball Reference MVP probabilities, here's that in both APA and MLA citation in case my teacher is watching and wants to fail me again. We can see at the top of the list, we got players like Jokic, SGA, Giannis, Luka, and Jason Tatum. All of these players having been in MVP conversations at some point throughout the season. Then looking at some of the lower players on the list, we got Devin Booker and Anthony Davis. Both players having a great season, but not at an MVP level. Now, what do these 7 guys have in common? They all play in the NBA. No, every one of them are all-stars. Every one of these top NBA players, according to Basketball Reference MVP probabilities, were all-stars, excluding number 6. So who is number 6? Well, this guy has the highest effective field goal percentage out of these 8 players. He also leads the league in triple-double. He leads the league in rebound. And he leads the league in double-doubles. If you ask me, this sounds like Jokic. But it's not. This is actually Sabonis, who wasn't selected as an all-star. Yes, the guy who's 6th on MVP probability was not considered to be a top 24 player in the NBA. And I know what people are going to say. They're going to say that the All-Star game is just a popularity contest. But that's just Adam Silver media propaganda to convince the public that he didn't ruin the game I once loved. So the All-Star voting works like this. For the 10 starters, it's 50% fan vote, 25% player, 25% media. So the starters are selected based on popularity. However, this isn't the case for the reserves. The 14 reserves are selected by the 30 head coaches of the NBA. You know, the guys who get paid to have front court seat to every game and make adjustments. So let's see which players got selected above Sabonis. So the Western front court starters were Jokic, LeBron, and Kevin Durant. Now, you can make a very good argument that every one of these players up until the All-Star game were having a better season than Sabonis. And once again, the starters are selected based on popularity as well. And you don't have to be a genius to know those 3 players are way more popular than Sabonis. I mean, I've never seen a guy wear a Sabonis jersey, but I also live in Canada, so that doesn't mean much. So the starters are fine as they are. Now let's go check the reserves. So the reserve requirement is at least 2 backcourt players as well as 3 front court players, with the other 2 being a wild card. Now let's look at all the front court players that were selected above Sabonis. We got Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and Karl Anthony Towns. Now, in my personal opinion, outside of Kawhi, I think Sabonis is having a better season than the rest of these players, but I'm also a nobody, so let's see what these experts had to say. Now, I didn't find the coaches' breakdown on the voting, probably because every one of them who didn't vote for Sabonis would be fired. So the next best thing would be the media. Based on the media voting, Sabonis was ranked 6th amongst Western frontcourt players, behind the 3 starters, Kawhi Leonard and Anthony Davis. Sabonis was ranked outside of the top 8 for both fans and player voting, but once again, we won't consider that because that's more based on popularity. Even though the All-Star game was over a month ago, it is very clear that Sabonis was snubbed, and he's been that guy throughout the season. Not just this season, for the past couple of seasons. Win shares, a player's statistic which attempts to divvy up credit for team success to the individual on the team. Basically, how valuable a player is to winning. So it's time to check the numbers. In the last 3 NBA seasons, Sabonis ranks 4th in total win shares. Who are the 3 players above him? Well, they just happen to be the back-to-back finalists for the MVP awards, as well as the consensus top 3 players in the league. Okay, so maybe Sabonis isn't a top 3 player. However, let's compare him to other players who are considered in the top 10. So players that are often mentioned to be top 10 players include SGA, Tatum, Luka, and Booker. None of these players has had a higher win share in the past 3 seasons than Sabonis. And take into consideration the last 15 MVPs have all been top 5 in win share. Here's a graph showing top 5 placement for MVP voting in the last 3 seasons. Okay, so now here's Sabonis. This looks off for a guy who's 4th in win share in the same time period. Alright, that's MVP voting top 5. Let's expand it to all NBA and all All-Star selections. Here's how those same players rank in terms of All-Star and all NBA team selections in the past 3 seasons. And once again, here's Sabonis. So the accolades are saying that Sabonis isn't a top 10 player, yet the numbers are saying he's a top 5 player even. And in case you're wondering, here's some other players with more All-Star and all NBA selection in the past 3 seasons. And this is where they ranked in terms of win share in the same time period. It's very clear that the people in charge of voting are blatantly disrespecting Sabonis. But I won't be, so I'ma start a dialogue. Top 5 players in the league right now, according to most people, would be Jokic, Giannis, SGA, Luka, and Tatum. But we not standing with that. We're gonna push Sabonis first team All-NBA. And next time someone mentions who's in your top 10, we're gonna say Sabonis is top 5. We are no longer tolerating this disrespect, and we are pushing a new dialogue, a Sabonis top 5 dialogue. Tell me what you see is